Hello and welcome to Aqua Lifestyle. I'm Glenn, and today we're going to talk about setting up your chart plotter and waypoints and routes on the Lowrance Elite 9. This is one of a many-part series that we've done on this particular unit, so watch for the other videos and let's get started. The EliteFS is an amazing fish finder, but it's also a great chart plotter. And today we're going to talk about setting up the chart plotter, starting with the system setup. So you're going to access the gear in the upper left-hand corner of the home screen. That's going to bring you to your system settings, and in particular the navigation screen. That'll give you your basic features and functions within the navigation screens. Arrival radius, you can set that. That's how big the radius is for when you're steering to a waypoint. It'll notify you and let you know that you're arriving at that waypoint. You can set that radius. Cross-track error limits, cross-track error alarm, so if you get too far off course, that'll identify that. Trails, you can set up on your trails the logging type, so you can have it drop marks automatically, or you can go in and set distance by distance or time. Phantom Lowrance gives you the opportunity, the ability to use Lowrance numbers and have it act as if it is a Lowrance system rather than GPS. Gives you that capability. So if you're running Lowrance numbers, that kind of thing, you can access that information that way. Chart, if you go into the chart, you can select the type of boat that you want on the chart. You can have a sailboat, you can have a bass boat, or you can have a center console. This is when you set it up in 3D mode. It'll draw a little icon instead of just having the triangle on the screen that you see here. Let's go to chart. Instead of just having that little icon there, it would do, if we go to 3D mode and we set it up here, where were we here? Navigation, chart, we were on chart. Center console, you can have a bass boat or center console. Let's go back to the chart here. I'll show you how to get to this in a second, but if we turn 3D on, see how that changes to a center console boat. Okay, there you can see the boat there. And in 3D mode, it's more of a 3D representation. If we had the kind of cartography loaded in here that you could play with that, it would be set up that way and you could kind of see 3D. Okay, let's go back. Chart. Range rings, you can turn range rings on and off. You see here, if you want those on there. Heading extension you can turn on and off. Course extension you can turn on and off just by tapping. You can adjust the length of that extension too. Synchronize 2D and 3D charts, you can turn that on and it'll pull the two types of charts together. Pop-up information, that's if you hit a mark, it'll give a little window and tell you what that particular point is. You've got grid lines here that you can turn on and off. Grid lines if you're doing a search pattern or looking for a particular point and you want to zigzag back and forth or run a pattern to do it. That makes it good for that, search and rescue, that kind of thing. Waypoints. You can turn those on and off so they'll show on the chart or not. Same with routes, same with trails. If you want to access waypoints, routes, and trails, you can come to this and it brings you to that screen with waypoints, routes, and trails. Close that off. We'll go back to our home screen here. So we'll start with chart. And of course we've got our chart. We can pinch to zoom in and out. If we can pan around, if we want to return to the vessel, we just hit return to vessel and it's going to bring it to the center of the screen. Now there's a couple of different ways you can, let's do waypoints and routes once we've gone through the menu. This is one of the ways you can enter a new waypoint just by pressing the button there, and we'll go into that after I go over the menu. Okay, so we're in the screen here. You can hit find and it will bring up all these different items that you can actually try to pull up. So chart items, let's say, you can type in the name of what you're looking for, and if it's in the chart, it should pull it up and get it for you. Let's go back here. Overlay. You can overlay weather if you have Cirrus weather, a separate antenna tied into this. You can overlay weather to the chart. You can overlay structure. If you're running your structure scan, you can overlay structure. You can overlay your radar if you have radar tied into this. And if you do, you really need a heading sensor so you don't have a lag, and heat map. So you can overlay all of those if you have them connected. Now we go to more options. It's going to give us some more options here. Orientation, you can have north up, head up, or course up. So north up, it's always going to have north at the top. Heading up, depending on where you're pointed, where your bow is pointed, that's going to be at the top of the screen. And course up is if you're going to a particular waypoint or running a particular course, that's going to be at the top of the screen. Look ahead. Now if you turn this, you notice what happened there. It took our boat from the center of the screen and dropped it down, so you have a larger area of what's ahead of you as we're running due north right now. It gives you more of the chart, more information of what's ahead, so it drops you down a little bit. If we turn that back off, you see how it brings us back to the center of the screen. Look ahead. I tend to like looking ahead. I'm not so worried about what I've already passed. I'm more interested in what's up ahead. So I like having it in this mode. We'll turn that off for now. We have the 3D turned on. If the chart that you have loaded in here has 3D capability, when you turn that on, it'll automatically give you a 3D mode, and you can change your angle of view by zooming in and out. This particular chart doesn't have that capability turned on, so we can't zoom in and out. But if you use the zoom in and out button, it'll change the angle of the plane. So we'll turn that off for now. Color trails. You can set trails and coloration with that. Chart options. If you have these capabilities, these are kind of grayed out. They would be white if you have the capability, so you could do photo overlay. You can change the transparency of the photo overlay, so you can fade it in and out. Raster charts, you could turn those on or off, and raster charts are basically like a paper chart version. You can click that and it will give you that raster chart information and look. Raster transparency, same thing. You can change the transparency of it, see more or less of the overlay. Detail, you can have full, you can have medium, or you can have low. And it declutters the chart. But generally speaking, most of the time you're probably going to run it in full because you want all those spot soundings and channel markers, depth contour lines, that kind of thing. Categories. You can check off, so you can remove certain things within the chart. So you can see all of these are checked, so everything that's in here is going to show on the chart if it's part of that chart. But you can turn them on and off just by touching the bar in relation to that particular item. Shaded relief. If you had the capability of adjusting that on the chart, you could hit that and bring up that data. Contours, if you had the ability, you could remove the contours. Depth palette. Now the depth palette, you notice the colors that we got here in various depths. For navigation, we can do navigation, depth shading, and it's going to change coloration. Paper chart, make it look more like a paper chart. We can do traditional, and safety shading. In safety, you can set your depth, and it's going to create shading based on whatever safety depth you have put in there. So let's go back to navigation. That's probably one of the better ones for navigating, just to see the differences in depths. Depth filter, you can set a depth filter so it'll only show a depth to a certain point. We've got that turned off. Now, depth palette, we did the depth palette. And then the shading, you can actually, on this, we can change colors, and we've got some set in here. So depth 1, you can see we've got, this is all too shallow for us, and then we've got different shading and gradations as we move in and out. As we zoom in, that color changes based on the depth. Depth 2, so you can change your coloration and end up with custom charts based on the shading and the depth ranges that you like. Do custom, you can go in, set your depth and set your colors. Doing custom charts, depth 1, depth 2. If you had the capability for composition and vegetation, you could adjust the shading for those too. So that's what we're looking at there. If I zoom in to this area here, you can see now if I turn them off, depth 2, depth 1, I can just have one or the other or both. So we'll go back. That was shading, and that is our chart options. Okay, another screen we're going to talk about for charting and navigation is the steer screen. Now what this does is it gives you your chart, but it gives you more of a 3D perspective, as if you're looking up over the chart, and it's got a compass rose and it's got navigation information in here. You have some different features and functions that you can do with this, as far as you can create a new waypoint, you can go to a waypoint, you can start a route if you have a specific route. So you'll use this screen. This is handy to have if you're steering to a particular waypoint or if you're steering a route. It just gives you that different perspective. Kind of nice features. You can move around on your chart. You can zoom in and out. You can see how it's a little more of an angle there and kind of shows you what's ahead. So a nice feature. And again, you got the compass rose. You got all your information there. Nice simple screen to use and all your pertinent information. So that's an option for you if you're navigating. The menu, very simple, just those 3 options. I'm going to go back to the chart here, and we're going to learn how to create a waypoint and create a route. Several ways to create a waypoint on these charts or on this machine. Very simple. In your menu on your chart here, you can hit new and new waypoint, and it's going to mark a new waypoint at the cursor or at your vessel. So if we go back here and I clear the cursor back to the vessel, you've got new waypoint here. You press that and it says new waypoint at vessel. Now the waypoint, you can go in on more options. You can pull up information, you can create notes, you can change the number. It's going to give the next number in the sequence automatically. You can change the name. You can do all that kind of information. So let's do that again here. So we want to save the point where the vessel is right now. We'll hit menu. We can hit new waypoint. You can go in here and change the icon if you want. You can change the color of the icon. You can go in and change the name. Like I said, it's going to give you the next number in a sequence. You can call it whatever you want. Just type it in, hit enter and save it. You can, on the more options, you can actually type in notes if you want to make notes for that particular waypoint, and you can go in and make any adjustments you need. We're going to save that one. And another way you can save a waypoint is by using your waypoint flag right here, this button. All you have to do is press the button and it's automatically going to save that next point. Now, because we don't have a cursor on there, it's a waypoint at vessel. If I discard this and I put over here and I say this marker here, it's identifying it at 7 feet, I can hit menu, new waypoint, and now it's saving the waypoint at the cursor. It's calling it number 2. Let's save that. And it's dropping an icon on there too. You see the icon? Now if I put my cursor on there, it's going to make it a little bit bigger and it's going to bring up the number, whatever the waypoint name is. If I go back here, there's the first waypoint we made, and waypoint 1. You can do that on most of these charts. You can put your cursor on whatever it is, and it'll identify, tell you what that particular point is. Okay, so we'll clear cursor. That brings us back to the boat here. Okay, that's a couple of ways you can save a waypoint. There's a third way. You can go to your home screen, and remember here on the menu, that was your first option, Waypoints. Now it'll give you your waypoint list, and at the very top it gives you the option to create a new one. You can tap that and you can create a new waypoint that way. This is a good way if you're creating a lot of waypoints from a list that you have. It's easy to go to this screen, tap it, and save the waypoints that you want. So that's the third way you can save a waypoint on this one. And that's particularly good if you're putting in a list of waypoints. As a new machine, you might have a list from another machine or from a friend or from a chart, what have you, and you can go in and add them in that way. Okay, you have options. You got new, sort by name, delete all by symbol, delete all, and find. So once you get a list, a long list of waypoints, this gives you more options to access them and delete them if you need to. All right, so creating a route on the chart. There's a couple of ways to do that on this machine. You can go to menu. You can go to starting point, let's say the route that you want. You press new and new route. This will be our second point. So that's your starting point. This will be your secondary point, your third point, fourth point, fifth point, sixth point, seventh point. So we've got a route here. We're right here, and we want to do this route. So I'm going to hit save. Route number 2, enter, and there is our route. Okay, so we clear our cursor, and there's our route. Okay, so another way to create a route is going back to this menu. You're going to go to routes, new route, so you can select that. And then this is going to let you insert waypoints that you have saved in the system to create your route. Then we're going to insert a second one. There we go. If you want to pull up one of these routes, you can pull it up. You can start the route if you want. And it gives you the option of forward, reverse, or cancel. We want to start it forward, so it's steering us to that first waypoint in the route, and it's made that an active route, so it's going to steer us back over to that point, and then it'll pick up each of the waypoints along the route. Okay, and off we go. We're going to navigation. You can go back, you can skip, you can restart, or search at destination. We're going to cancel that, and there it goes back to normal. So that is how you can find a waypoint or a route. Either way, you can do the same thing. So let's go back here. If we go to waypoints, waypoint, if I want to go to that particular waypoint, it brings up the information. Show, I can see it on the chart, or I can go to, and now it's steering me to that waypoint. If I want to cancel that, you can go navigation, and cancel, and you see it goes away. So that's it. That's your cartography and navigation setup. You can add cards and have all kinds of information depending on the cards. You definitely want to take a look at the different charting options that are available with these machines. CMAP has some spectacular new stuff that's available. You can add Navionics Plus to these guys, or Navionics Platinum in the CMAP cartography. So that's it in a nutshell. You want to definitely take a look at the different charting capabilities of this machine and see if you want to add any kind of cartography to it. There's a lot of cartography out there that'll work with this. Just confirm compatibility, make sure it'll work, and you're well on your way. It's a very capable machine, and with the cartography that's preloaded in it is excellent. But there's even better stuff out there as far as cartography that you can load in and really have some neat features and functions. So definitely worth looking into that. And I hope this was a useful video for you. If it was, please like and subscribe. Remember to hit the notification bell so you can know when the other videos in this series are available. We will have the setup for the fishing and in saltwater and in freshwater So stay tuned for those, and thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here soon.